voices respond to the delay in the menthol cigarette rule. We'll have plenty of time for questions, and we'll be using the raised hand feature when we get to that point to answer your questions. But to start, though, we want to jump in very quickly. And we're going to first turn to Yolanda Richardson, President and CEO of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Yolanda Richardson, and today, if it's indicated, I'm the President and CEO of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined today by an incredible panel of civil rights, faith, public health, medical, and other leaders. We're coming together today to send a united message that we're deeply disappointed by the White House delay in issuing a rule to ban menthol cigarettes. And we're calling on the Biden administration to keep its promise and issue the rule by the end of this year. Make no mistake, delay is deadly. Delay means that the tobacco industry can continue to target Black communities and to profit at the expense of Black and other lives by delaying. 45,000 Black Americans each year die, and if Black lives matter, we have to get rid of menthol cigarettes. There's absolutely no reason to delay. This policy has been studied for more than 12 years. It's supported overwhelmingly by the scientific evidence, and it will save hundreds of thousands of lives. The White House must stand up to big tobacco and issue this life-saving rule.
Thank you, Yolanda. And now we're going to turn to Reverend Siobhan Arline Bradley, President and CEO of the National Council of Negro Women.
Good morning. On behalf of the National Council of Negro Women, we stand today united with our partners to tell you that we are supporting the menthol ban, and we are here to advocate for lives that have been lost. As we know, researchers have estimated that prohibiting menthol cigarettes could save up to 654,000 lives within the next 40 years. And of those 654,000, 255,000 of those are Black Americans. We know that our communities have been targeted, and there is scientific evidence that shows that menthol cigarettes are more addictive, especially for children who start smoking. And as an organization founded on engaging in principles to advance and support Black communities, children, and families, we say today we are united, and we know that saving lives is the most important message that we can give today. We are calling for the industry to stand down, and we are calling for lives to be saved. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. And now we'll turn to Bishop William J. Barber, President and Founder, Repairers of the Breach.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Delay means more death of Black people, more death of Black children, more death of poor people. We have seen delay on voting rights, delay on living wages, and now a delay of a moral rule to regulate menthol. These delays must stop. I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. I was a part of poor rural boys and girls that tobacco growers used at the lowest wages possible to crop and prime their tobacco. I watched friend after friend get hooked and addicted to cigarettes and die from cancer, only as big tobacco worked harder and harder, more and more to get folk addicted for profits. And now menthol is a health equity issue in the United States. 60% of African Americans are poor and or low wage, 26 million people. 30% of white people are poor and low wealth, 66 million. Poverty is the fourth leading cause of death, and menthol cigarettes are targeted and marketed toward Black and brown, especially the poor. And it kills Black people, it kills white people, and especially Black children. Tobacco use is a major contributor to the top causes of death and disease among African Americans: heart disease, cancer, stroke, and approximately 40,000 African Americans die from tobacco-related cancers each year. That's 400,000 in 10 years. Almost 9 out of 10 African Americans who smoke use menthol cigarettes that are deliberately targeted to be addictive in our community. The tobacco industry has targeted Black communities with menthol for tremendous profit, researching and appropriating Black culture along the way, from free menthol giveaways, ice cream truck-like vans in the 1960s and 1990s, to saturating urban Black neighborhoods with menthol advertisements, cheap prices, and coupons. Through today, the industry has flooded and continues to target Black communities. A ban on the manufacturing and distribution of menthol cigarettes by the FDA would begin to address the health inequities caused by the industry's targeting of our cultures. Now, some have alleged that menthol bans target the choice of Black Americans who smoke and could lead to an increased police interaction, even though these policies regulate retailers and others in the industry. It is cynical to try to pit discriminatory policing and excessive police force against ending this, putting a ban on menthol. The truth of the matter is, for more than 60 years, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted the Black community. If you are concerned about Black lives, tobacco money can't mean more than our people's lives. To claim that one cares about Black lives and poor lives and people's lives, and then stand with big tobacco on this known sin and inequity that produces so much death is playing political Russian roulette with the lives of Black people. A delay is wrong and immoral, and the Biden administration needs to step up and act now.
Thank you so much, Bishop Barber. And now we're going to turn to Derek Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP.
Good morning, and thank you for organizing this call. A ban on tobacco should not be delayed. It is delaying the lives of hundreds of thousands of individuals who are being impacted because of menthol flavoring. The industry intentionally flavored cigarettes to be more attractive to young Black kids. As a result, more people are killed by tobacco addiction than many other issues in the African American community. In fact, if you think about the population of African Americans, only 12%, and 41% of menthol-related tobacco deaths are in African Americans, this is a tragedy. There's no reason why this administration should delay the ban on menthol. If you consider the fact that they have already banned every other flavor, and the only flavor they have not banned is menthol, which was targeted towards the African American community, it raised the question around this administration's and anyone who support delaying the ban true motivations here. And that's unfortunate because it is our community's public health needs that are being played with, toyed with, and used as a political pawn. We must put people above profit. There's no reason to delay a ban. If flavored tobacco for other issues have been banned, why is this the only flavor that's not banned? And any argument to suggest anything else is a tail wagging the dog argument. The crime that is being committed is by the tobacco industry. You cannot compare any crime to what's being committed by the tobacco industry. If it's a question around the political landscape, African Americans are more concerned with the price of gas, the price of bread, and ensuring that their children have future than this issue. Far too many people are dying as it relates to menthol-related tobacco death in the African American community, and the ban should be instituted immediately, not delayed. And there is no civil rights community in support of this. There are a bunch of people who are being paid to lift up arguments that are fake arguments and not in the best interest of the African American community, not the health of African Americans, and not for the longevity of our community to have a quality of life that's consistent with every other citizen in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Johnson. Now we're going to hear from Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation.
Thank you, and I apologize. My voice is a little nasal this morning. I will first thank Tobacco-Free Kids for your leadership on this issue. I have a personal concern. My father passed from smoking when I was 18 years old, many decades ago now. And so I have a personal understanding of what it does, and it was due to smoking. And he had emphysema and passed away at 56 years young. I think a lot has already been said. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, Black Women's Roundtable, we are in lockstep with Tobacco-Free Kids on
urging the administration to move on banning menthol cigarettes. It's about life or death. It's about what is right or wrong. And there's no more important thing when it comes to our health that can just be addressed expeditiously. It's way past time. For over 50 years, we know the statistics, we've heard some of them. But one of them is 85% of Black smokers prefer menthol cigarettes, a direct outcome of the tobacco industry's targeted and predatory marketing strategies. The time is now to do what is morally right, to save lives and get this done in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, President Campbell. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Yolanda Lawson, President of the National Medical Association.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting and allowing the NMA to participate in this press conference this morning. As the collective voice of Black doctors and their patients, the National Medical Association stands united with the partners in calling for the administration to finalize the rule to eliminate menthol cigarettes by the end of this year. Menthol cigarettes have a devastating and disproportionate impact on the health of Black Americans. We as Black physicians see this every day. Smoking-related illnesses are a leading cause of death in the Black community, and approximately 45,000 Black Americans die each year from these smoking-related diseases. This is also a necessary step to enhance and advance the moonshot, the president's moonshot cancer initiative, if we want to cut the deaths related to cancer. Menthol cigarettes are a major reason why. It's unfathomable that the administration could delay a policy that could save the lives of up to 255,000 Black Americans. Each day menthol cigarettes remain on the market, the tobacco industry can and will continue to target our Black communities with its toxic and deadly effects of menthol. So delaying action will perpetuate the consequences and lead to more Black lives being lost to smoking-related diseases. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, President Lawson. And now we're going to hear from Carol Magruder, who's the founder and co-chair of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council.
Good morning. First of all, I'm so grateful, and I just want to thank the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids for organizing us this morning to respond to the delay again of our country, our government in saving and promoting the health of Black people in this country. I'm the co-chair of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, and we have been at the forefront of this national fight and international, I would say, movement to remove mentholated tobacco products from the U.S. market, along with little cigars and cigarillos, which does not get as much attention. This stellar group of people who are on this morning, as we're looking at who the different sides that people have fallen on, I think President Johnson said it, Bishop Barber said it, that the African Americans, unfortunately, who are carrying the water and the rhetoric for the federally adjudicated tobacco companies, they need to get on the right side of this issue. It's a complex issue, and all of the individuals and the organizations that are on this call have given this issue very, very careful consideration, debate, examination, and we are all committed that we know that when a rule is passed, when a law is passed, that's a big step in the beginning of a long process to undo the harm of the past decades of unrelenting, racist, pernicious targeting of the African American community by the tobacco industry. And so for those who want to confuse the issue and want to make this about the individual, this is not about the individual. It is not illegal to smoke a menthol cigarette. No policeman is going to ask the Black man on the street, are you smoking menthol or non-menthol? This is about the head of the snake. This is about the tobacco companies, and that's why they are fighting so hard to keep their hooks in the Black community, that they feel that they own us, and they are not willing to let us go. We asked the Biden administration to do what they promised to do. We actually sued the FDA along with Action on Smoking and Health, the National Medical Association represented here today, and the American Medical Association. So imagine a product that's so bad that the doctors of the nation sue its own government to compel them to act and to do what needs to be done. So we stand very proudly with the group of folks who are assembled this morning. And we will be, President Johnson, we've been fighting for our voting rights, and we're going to keep fighting for this. We are not going to give up, and we are going to see this process through. We are going to make sure that our people get the services that they deserve, that Black African-American smokers get cessation services that address institutional racism and the extra burden of stress that we carry as African Americans in this country. And I want to say that between 2009 and 2020, since President Barack Obama signed the Tobacco Control Act that gave the authority to the FDA, we've had 500,000 Black children who have started smoking menthol cigarettes. And that's in addition to the other things that are going on. So our children deserve protection like everybody else. They go through the stages of life like everybody else. Black people are not born with a Newport in their mouths as an adult. And we want protection for our community. And we want services for the people who are already the victims of the tobacco industry targeting, so that we can have a beloved, whole, healthy Black community in this country. That is possible. And that this is a public health issue that has this overlay of race, because everything, unfortunately, in our country is racial. So we know we need criminal justice reform. We know we need police reform. But we know the biggest targeter, the biggest killer of Black men is the tobacco industry. So the 1 million Black people who have died in the past 20 years, the burden of grief that we carry for that, along with all the other things that we have going on, we need to really pay some attention to that. And so thank you, campaign. We are not giving up. We are not going to turn around. We are going to keep going. We are going to see this thing through. They can bring anybody they want to the White House to lobby for this. But you see, the people on this call are intelligent, thoughtful, deliberate organizations and individuals who have studied this. And we have determined that we need to get these deadly products out of our community. And we're going to do whatever it takes to do that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. We're now going to move to Q&A. Please use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen. I'll call on you when you're ready for the question. And you'll receive a prompt to unmute to verbally ask your question.
And while we're waiting on questions, could I ask that we give a minute to Dr. Edith Neptune, who's at Johns Hopkins University, a pulmonary specialist who grew up in tobacco company in Eastern North Carolina and is a tireless advocate against this fighting for the ban, and has stood tirelessly against those who are trying to block it. She's on the line.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Reverend Barber. The message that I would want to convey is that we have to stand up for patients and populations who are not always able to get out in front of the cameras and march, because they often require very high levels of oxygen, or they're very limited because of their COPD, or because of the malignancies, or because of the various other illnesses that are associated with smoking exposure. And so we stand with them, and we assert that the 45,000 African Americans who die of tobacco-related illnesses every year, that their lives matter. And so when we carry the banner of Black Lives Matter, we don't just reserve that for those who are victims of the police or those who are victims of other kind of social forces. We extend that to this community of patients who are targeted by an industry that could care less about African Americans, targeted by an industry that picks civil rights leaders, picks Black organizations in order to spout misinformation. So we stand with those 45,000 Black lives in order to protect them, protect their families, and protect the community that they are such a vital part of.
Thank you, Dr. Neptune. I believe we have a question from Tashi from the Afro.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, lovely. So yes, I'm a reporter from Afro News, based in Baltimore. I wanted to ask either Dr. Lawson or Dr. Neptune if you could explain or rather how menthol cigarettes impacts the body and just specifically collective Black health.
Dr. Neptune, would you like me to start or would you want to comment?
You can start and I will follow up.
Certainly. So as we all recognize, we know that, and especially in this time of year, right, when we're worried about respiratory diseases. So one of the issues that we are most concerned about, of course, is menthol, the inhalation, effects on the lung and the respiratory system, the addictive nature of menthol. We know that menthol can be more difficult, mentholated cigarettes rather, can be more difficult to wean off and discontinue use, can aggravate other coexisting underlying medical conditions, especially COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, and definitely for these patients that have other chronic disorders. And so when you talk about, I think it's been well established, there's plenty of data. I think we all know that cigarette smoking, and then you bring on this mentholated version, and then you worry about, will you ever get these patients to discontinue smoking?
That was great, Dr. Lawson. And I'll step in to kind of talk about kind of the pharmacology of menthol, because many persons think that menthol is like strawberry or like watermelon or like bubble gum. It's just a flavor. Menthol is a drug. And the reason that it is a drug is because it actually acts on proteins and receptors that are on cells that are able to desensitize the airway. So the reason that menthol is very effective is that it makes smoking less harsh. And nicotine is a natural irritant to the airway. So if you coat that irritant with an anesthetic, then it's obviously going to be much easier to initiate and to continue and to establish the addictive association that is the critical factor in becoming a long-term smoker. So remember that it's not menthol is just a flavor. Menthol is a drug, and the tobacco companies knew this kind of in the beginning. In the 60s and the 70s, they knew that it was a drug, and they knew that people did not understand how it was actually working. And we need to be especially kind of aware of this because tobacco companies are already starting to design mimics of menthol that have the same type of signaling properties, but may not smell just like menthol, may not give you that kind of fresh menthol taste that we get with the gum, but will have the same effect within a tobacco product. So we need to be wary of these, and these are on the market in California, in selective states. So they're already using kind of this menthol cudgel to try to maintain their effects on the populations that have been the most targeted by this very, very cynical act.
And if I can add in, I'm in California. We fought for law already in California. California, Massachusetts have passed statewide laws to take these products off the market already. The tobacco industry promptly put it on the ballot. We had a referendum. We had to fight for that. The California voters upheld the law that they wanted these products out of our state. And now, as Dr. Neptune has said, they are new products, non-menthol, menthol products that mimic. And so we can see that we're playing whack-a-mole with an industry that delays crucial public health policy. And then when it's all said and done, then they're waiting in the wings with other products to keep us hooked. And so, this is we're playing what we call in California the end game. We're looking at how do we end this and dismantle this whole system because it's relentless and they will never stop. And menthol also, it dilates the lungs, the small sacs in the lungs, the alveoli, and it allows the toxins to be held deeper and longer in the lungs. And as Dr. Phil Gardner says, our other co-chair, it helps them poison go down easier. That's what menthol does.
Thank you, Carol. We have a next question from Matt Perrone with the Associated Press.
Hi, thanks for taking questions. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. All the reporting seems to indicate that, the reason we're seeing this delay is because the administration sees some kind of political risk with implementing this policy. I understand it's bad public health, it's bad health policy, but is there a, political message for why banning menthol is actually a win? And are any of your groups, maybe talking to the administration, trying to articulate that message? I mean, we've been talking about menthol since the Obama years, and it just seems like no administration is willing to pull this lever.
So I would jump in. Derek Johnson, NAACP. We put people above politics or profits. It is a red herring argument at this ninth hour to say it will create political risk. The concerns of the Black community is the price of gas, bread, the future of their children, the safety of their communities. Those are the political questions that are happening on the ground. We're the largest civil rights organization in the Black community in 47 states across the country. No one has raised this as a political issue. Unfortunately, between the lobbyists of the tobacco industries and those that they have paid to carry a bad, false message, we are at this juncture. It is in the interest of the African American community to ensure that their health is the number one priority. There is no political conversation outside of a manufactured argument that we began to hear about a week and a half ago. Before that, they only talked about increased policing in Black communities, which was also a false red herring argument, a tail wag the dog argument. So I would encourage this administration to focus on the science, the research, and the health outcome of African Americans, and put people's health above politics or profit.
One thing, this is Bishop Barber with Repairs of the Breach. I also want to concur with what Dr. Johnson has just said and add to it that Black people are concerned about why do we have already had a delay in voting rights, fixing the Voting Rights Act. We had a delay in that, one vote and no more pushing. We've already had a delay in living wages with 60.9% of Black people being poor and low wealth. And we've not had living wages, the minimum wage raised. And minimum wage raising it was an issue at the March on Washington 1963. And here we are 60 years later, and we still have not had it. Now, someone wants to say there's a political consequence. If you ban menthol, there's going to backfire in the Black community. It's just a lie. It's just not true. And the question is, who's saying that and where are they coming from? The reality is that not only does this menthol hurt Black people, it hurts the poorest of Black people. I come from Eastern North Carolina. I come from the South. And what is so hurtful about this is in the South, we are the ones who are exploited by the tobacco companies from the seed to the barn to the lungs. They exploit poor communities. I was one of those exploited at a young age, forcing us to work for hardly anything to crop the tobacco. They ran Black farmers who grew tobacco almost out of business, taking over agro tobacco farmers, big farmers. And for years and years and years, they have sold what Dr. Edith Neptune says, and she's from Eastern North Carolina as well, tobacco country, drugs. And I want us to hear that, drugs. Menthol's a drug in our community. What the administration ought to be focusing on in terms of political consequences is we should right now pass voting rights in the Senate and force the House that's led by Republicans to respond. We should pass living wages in the Senate. That's what the president and others should be focused on, and force the House to react to it. So rather than buying into a few folk walking into the White House, for whatever reason, they got paid by the tobacco companies or other, and making it, as Dr. Johnson said, this red herring issue, what we ought to be focused on are the daily life issues that really people are concerned about. enough people have died finally from COVID. Over 350,000 people died during COVID from the lack of health care. That's what we ought to be focused on. People went into bankruptcy because we called them essential workers, but treated them like they were expendable. We sent them to work without living wages, without paid leave, without health care. That we took back the things we pushed during COVID so far that ended child poverty and brought poverty down. And now we've rescinded those things. If you really want to empower the electorate, focus on the things that would lift the lives of poor and low-wealth people, Black, white, brown, and otherwise, and stop the foolishness of claiming that if you pass a menthol ban, that somehow that's going to undermine the power, the potential of the Black vote or any other vote. It's cynical, it's wrong, and it's a form of Russian roulette with people's lives, and it should stop now.
Thank you so much, Bishop Barber. We did have a somewhat of a similar question that was in advance from Garen Gaynor at the GRIO. And he asked, what do you make of the reports that the White House may have decided to delay banning of menthol cigarettes, which are most popular among Black Americans, in fear that it could alienate Black voters ahead of the 2024 election? President Campbell, is that something you might like to address?
Sure. I think a lot has already been said, and the bottom line is this administration needs to keep its commitment to deal with this issue. Saving lives, in some ways, I'll say, is a political issue in this country because of the challenge we already have on health disparities in this country. So this is a solution that needs to take place so we save lives. So they need to just do the right thing. Don't let the lobbyists control that. And I think in the end, they will be rewarded because we want to have health disparities addressed. This is a big one. And as I said in my earlier remarks, I can personally understand how it affects. My father, when he was diagnosed with emphysema, he had stopped smoking for 5 years, but he still died from it at 56 years young. So this is happening. We need to get the administration to do the right thing and get it done.
Yes, and I'd like to add in, we've been at the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, and Del Monte Jefferson is on the call. We have been working, I have traveled every state in the country. We have been working with our people, building capacity, really educating people about this issue. And the average person, they understand it, they get it because they have lived it. So when I talk about the Cool Jazz Festival, when we talk about the vans giving out cigarettes to children 9 years old, to Dave Chappelle when he was 14, people that starts to go off and they start to see in their own life in real time how this has affected them, who they've lost, what brother, mother, child even have succumbed to this predatory and pernicious targeting. So, you know, there are a few people who, and when you talk to the detractors who are actually hired by the tobacco industry, they really cannot have an intelligent conversation with you about these issues. They just start talking about a bunch of nonsense and things that are not even part of what we're talking about. But when you talk to our people, when you really educate, which is what we have been doing now since before 2009, but really since 2009, our people understand this and they want these products out of our communities, the average person, and they want help for their loved ones who are addicted to these products. And that's what this is about. It's about the continuation to undo this harm that has been done, which will take a long time as well.
Thank you, Carol. I was wondering, President Johnson, or if any of the other panelists who've not had a chance to speak, if you might have any closing remarks you want to give.
I just want to thank the Campaign for Free Tobacco for putting this together. I want to encourage the press to stay focused on the main issue here, and that's the health of African American community as a result of direct and deliberate targeting of a predatory product in our community and the resulting deaths. This is not about any other issue than that. We call on the White House to ban menthol flavored cigarettes the same way other flavors was banned, because that is important for the long-term health of our community. Thank you for putting this together.
Thank you so much. I think we'll probably likely wrap this up. But if you have any additional questions as you're working on stories, you can always contact me, and I can help coordinate getting any questions to any of the other participants and speakers. Again, Dave Lemon, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. And my phone number is 202-738-7983. And thank you so much.